again, hopefully with this recorded session, we will allow everybody to see it if they can't attend in person. But just to really quickly introduce myself, my name is Matt Thompson. I own the agency Tracking Pixel Media. Started the Elementor Indy group a few years back and was very consistent with it. But then unfortunately, just business got pretty good. And so I was not able to do this for a while. So trying to get back in the swing of things where I help people, understand how to use Elementor. I love doing this. I love the conversations that we have. Speaking of which, in order to have nice conversations, feel free to share yourself on webcam and have your microphones off. The whole point of this is for you to hop in here, ask questions while we're doing something, to come up with a dialogue, right? If you hear something that I say, you don't quite agree with it, hey, come in with your idea. Or if you have experience, with a certain plugin, or in this case, some of the widgets that we'll be talking about, would love to hear that input. It makes these sessions that much more dynamic instead of me just talking at you guys. Typically speaking, in months and sessions past, our audience has been pretty new to Elementor. And so as a starting off point, now that we're getting back into this again, I'm going to kind of take it from that standpoint. So not necessarily showing you how to do each one of these elements. I'm not a big fan of that, but what I like doing is trying to add a few key elements in here. So today we're actually going to be talking about key features. So I'm going to quickly go to my sharing screen and start presenting for everybody. So today we'll actually get into some of the top features, but not necessarily into this is how you do it. There are amazing tutorials out there online. Elementor actually has some really great tutorials themselves with their YouTube channel, but there are a whole slew of content creators who are very much dedicated to Elementor and do a fantastic job with it. So, and steps where you can play it, rewind it, play it, rewind it. So, what I try to do is I just try to put some spin on it, or maybe some, here are some notes to keep in mind with these features. So, again, some of it is just time-tested issues sometimes that I've come across, or sometimes maybe just a different spin on how you might be able to use it. I'm going to go ahead and get started with this. I've got my notes that I'm pulling up right now. So 2021 had a lot of amazing features. One of the features, so we'll go into some of the features today, but if you've been paying attention to the updates that have happened, it's really been amazing. I think 2021 has been a larger amount of change than any years in past. So today we'll showcase those. We're going to talk about form submissions and what that can do, and some caveats about form submissions. The cartwheel, page out button, custom breakpoints. Okay, again, custom code and text path. Not going to necessarily go into, so there's a lot of features. I want to try to condense everything, hopefully within to about a 35-minute to 45-minute time frame. So a lot of, again, it's not going to be necessarily how to do it, but some interesting things to keep in mind. Some of it, though, will be just here's how you can use it. Any questions so far from anybody out there?
I do.
Sure.
So I reached out to Elementor with this question. As I've been using it for 5.5 years. I just built my first really big site. And
Congrats.
With all of these features, I'm finding that I can eliminate certain plugins. Like I had a form plugin, but then Elementor ended up coming up with its own form. And so I reached out to Elementor. They didn't get back to me, but I want to know if somebody's compiled a list of things that Elementor can do that can eliminate plugins. On my big site, I started testing literally at 92 plugins. I'm down to 38 and running really good speeds. But Elementor has helped me in using fewer plugins. So I don't know if anybody's kept track of this. And I'd really like to know if there's a list out there, or should I start compiling my own?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, again, the updates have come so fast and furious, especially within 2021. Like I said, I mean, literally the list has been amazing, and some of the ones that there are things out there that we haven't, or we might not even touch today. It's hard to keep up with it. So one of the best things I would say is Elementor has, you can sign up for notifications, and it'll go into what each one of the releases are. So this is actually a really great thing. I would say sign up for their newsletter. Now, it's not going to have a compiled list, but that way you can keep track of things that are going on. Because again, I'm in that same boat. There's been a number of plugins and even being able to reduce the theme that has been able to improve performance for me that I've seen again, especially in this year in 2021. It's pretty amazing. So I agree with you. Elementor is becoming this whole huge dynamic system that can eliminate so many different plugins. So the short answer is I don't think that there is a compiled list. So maybe just kind of work on it yourself. But having that newsletter will really help you understand what these new features are. Again, I'll show you how to interact with them. Again, going to other places, I don't know. I mean, again, that's something I could reach out to the Elementor Meetup crew, all of us that do these kind of training sessions. I can ask. We have a Slack chat. I can maybe reach out and see if there's something, and if so, I can maybe post it out onto there, onto the Elementor Indy group as a document that we can have. But as of right now, no, there's nothing that I know that's a full list of this thing can change this or that. But I really feel like if you sign up for that newsletter, you'll stay abreast of the changes, and you'll just naturally start seeing the connections and how to eliminate some of the forms. Because I think honestly there are so many plugins out there. There's literally thousands, tens of thousands of plugins out there. It's hard for Elementor to compile a list of this one can eliminate this specific plugin, that one can eliminate that specific plugin. So it's kind of one of those ones where you just have to be able to suss out, okay, this is a unique feature. I can now get rid of this plugin that I was using in order to do that. So hopefully that answers that question.
It does.
I mean, not exactly in the way that you were hoping, but so let's dive right into it. Some noteworthy mentions. Go to this website. I'm going to pop out really quickly and I'll show you guys actually what I'm talking about, because I do have a tab that I'm going to be using for us. So not only am I going to be using that slideshow, I am also going to be using a set of websites for us to look at some real world interactions, because I think that that's important. Let me share this tab right now. Type. So if you share that link, oh, hi, sorry, everybody. Wrong tab. Okay, here we go. So a lot of the inspiration from today came from this post. Again, Elementor does a really great job of keeping everybody abreast of what's going on and some different changes that are out there. So this one, actually, that's really what inspired me to talk about this. But they have a lot of great overview of what's happened in 2021. And again, this is even just they did a survey of people. Hey, tell us what you think are the most important changes. So this is not even all of the changes, but there are things in here like full website kits. Okay. Full website kits are really amazing. So it kind of is worries me a little bit as a developer. Like, are they going to be working me out of a job? But there are so many great kits that if you want to, you can literally download a whole entire website in a box. I'll show you one of the things that you can do. Go to this one. I'll show you this tab really quickly right here. So if you go to Elementor library, you can actually go and see all the different kits that they have in here. Really super cool, right? So sometimes it's an actual full website, right? So this is a full clothing shop website. And so you can experience what that website is going to look like in real time. You can say, well, what does the mobile version look like? See what that mobile version looks like. Okay. In, again, real time. You can actually, bump it out and view a demo of it. Really cool. If you don't want to do that, you can just, go back, check out different ones. They've got templates for like landing pages, all different things. And this is always constantly updating. Now, some of the things just to be aware of are pro versions. So if you don't have the pro version of Elementor, you might be limited on it. And there's also ones that are for the Elementor expert level. And that's really in a tier even above the pro level. So it would cost money to have that. But there are certain kits that they have that are really snazzy. I mean, again, it's literally a website in the box, fully featured for you. You just need to customize your own tab and stuff. So one thing that I thought I would do, if you do want to add a template, what you need to do is you need to go into a couple of other things. I'm going to show you this really quickly. Screen share to this one. All right, so everybody's familiar with the dashboard. If you want to potentially use a kit, okay, what you need to do is, first of all, I think most Elementors now, if you've recently installed it, it's going to have this defaulted. But let's say you had an Elementor before this even came out. You're going to want to go into Elementor. You're going to want to go into experiments and just make sure that you have this clicked. Okay, it's called Import Export Template Kit. Okay, and then if it's not, it's going to be default, so it should be have the green button in there. But again, just to be safe, you hit the active, save changes, and then from there, you'll be able to, after you've saved it, you'll be able to go into the templates, right, where you've been able to, create pop-ups, use your theme builder. A new features landing pages. We won't get into that as well, but that's another really cool feature. If you do a lot of marketing campaigns where you maybe have used a lot of plugins and features. Again, I know somebody that I work with, they use GrooveFunnels, right? And that's all about having a funneled landing page. Well, you could totally eliminate that product and save money by just making sure that you have the pro version, because it has its own landing pages that you can go from there. But again, kit library, which is very much similar to that one template that we saw, but it's going to have everything in here. So you can kind of, say, hey, I just want, business and services. Again, some of the features that you're going to see in there, you might see that expert button. So unless you have that level, you're not going to be able to import that into there. Or if you have the pro version, you have that. Versus the general, which anybody can have access to. So if you have the free version, you could access this. The only other caveat to say about this is, let's say if something has a Woocommerce feature to it, then you have to have that plugin downloaded in order to have the full template onto there. Again, amazing tutorials out there on how to use this feature. So I don't really want to dive too much into it, but it's definitely something that I thought was really good. Those landing page templates are really amazing as well. But to kick off to this, and actually to Mitch's point about having submissions, so forms, likewise myself, I'm going to share another tab. I had clients that had multiple forms, and just got to make sure I get the right. there we go. They had multiple forms right within there. And so I had to download this one, which actually was a really great database, this Elementor Db. I don't know if anybody has used it out there. Again, it was great. It had, would track all the forms. It would track, some of the submissions or some of the details on it. You could, the details that Elementor would tag onto there, like IP address, things like that. It would track within here. Would tell you where that form was submitted on. So a lot of great functions, right? Whenever you're crunching the results from a marketing campaign, you can kind of just viscerally see, where these forms are being submitted, whether or not it's being effective. Now, the one caveat I will say, and so this is what I'm going to actually talk about with one of these notes. I'm not going to show you how to do this because it's actually pretty simple. The submissions are automatically there now. So if you create a form within Elementor, it's going to taking these forms. Now, my problem that I have within here, and this is why I've not gotten rid of this Elementor DB yet, and I'll even show you guys. You can see right here, it shows this one as Marfine46 at Yahoo, and then Vicky Funk at iCloud, right? In terms of these submissions that Elementor has seen. But if I go into Elementor DB, and again, I don't know if this is a matter of the fact that this was before all these forms were created, before they even had this function of recording submissions. But I show this Marn right here, and then like 3 other submissions, right? One is like a double submission right here, but then another submission, and it's not even recorded. So just be very careful about, pulling the plug on some of those plugins, okay? Just make sure that you test it out. So personally, I have not any of the sites that I have Elementor database set up on, right? If I created a site before they had that form submission on Elementor, I have not deleted those plugins because it really shouldn't bog down the bandwidth and the speed of the website itself. But again, as I've seen right in here, there are clearly submissions that's not even picking up. And so that's a big red flag for me. We can't have this. So especially for this customer themselves, they're getting a lot of prescription forms for, this is an emergency vet. And so it's, critical that they get every single submission, not just some of them. Any thoughts or concerns? Has anybody else experienced this at all? Has anybody else just gone ahead and removed the form submission?
I never use it. It's the first time that I see so.
Okay.
The one thing that it's lacking is you can't maintain a thread like you would in a support chat. Follow? In other words, every form, it's a different submission, and now you're emailing back and forth, and that's just really inefficient. And I may have to go back to, like Support Candy or something, so that you can have a thread all in one place rather than trying to, pull up emails from 4 days ago.
Yeah. So that is a limitation, right? So if you're doing something where you have submissions for, let's say it's like if you're a designer and you have a maintenance kind of package or something, right? And you want to keep that thread or whatever your case scenario is, that is a limitation, is that there is not that function to keep it. So you are definitely correct about that. But yeah, sorry, Renato, you asked a question. Do you mind to try to use the basic gallery widget? It seems
yes.
9, the drag and drop is not working anymore. I think that's more of, are you talking about in Elementor or in the actual post editor of WordPress?
No, the widget, the gallery widget is not working like before. Just today I realized that since WordPress 5.9, the drag and drop is not working anymore. I write also to Elementor. Anyhow, I don't want to disturb you.
Sure.
If you have something else to talk about, don't.
No worries. I understand that. Just a really quick thing. Just make sure that your plugins are updated. I know Elementor had a couple quick changes within there. So if that's an issue, more than likely It could be either a plugin conflict, or it could be something that's in the works with Elementor. Again, these big giant companies are not always talking with themselves. WordPress is a community of developers, so it's not like there's an official chain of command like within Elementor. So I would say maybe hang tight for a day or two. I know that's not always the easiest thing, but maybe you and I can work on this afterwards. Brainstorm that after we kind of go through the rest of this as a troubleshooting. If people have.
Okay.
I'd be happy to look into that with you. Going back into the presentation now. Let me share this. So yeah, again, we just talked about form submissions. So the next thing that I wanted to do a really quick look at, again, these are functions. There are a lot of great tutorials out there, so I'm not going to really dive into it, but I'm just going to kind of show you some real world examples of how this has been great. So for me, I've used this, and I'm going to show you in a real world tab. So one of my clients here in Indianapolis, Eagle Creek Park, this was a great thing about being able to edit each one of the different features in the cart. Now, there's more that's coming down the pipeline, okay? So in that article that I referenced, there was already some things that you've been able to do in terms of editing, but there's even more. So there's things like being able to edit the WooCommerce warnings, or like your product has been added to the cart. I don't know if you've ever noticed that it's just that same, no matter who you have in terms of your page builder or like how you've customized Elementor. If you're using WooCommerce, it's that typical WooCommerce font and color and whatnot. Well, you're going to be able to start changing all of that, right? So it'll be your own custom font, it'll be your own custom colors. Again, the whole idea is to get this whole e-commerce experience personalized. And that's something that we've not been able to do before. So the edit cart widget, again, very simply, this is a page that I built that routes it from the Elementor. And so now, again, this year, we had the edit cart function. So you can have, 1 columns, 2 columns. You can edit different things, like in terms of the order summary. Again, you can have, as you can see right within here, there are certain limitations, right? Not everything that you can change within there. Like for an example, if you don't use a coupon right now, you cannot turn this section off unless you use CSS, right? In order to hide that section. Again, I have a client who might use coupons, so that's why this section is there. But for the most part, it's all about the style. Okay, that's what this edit cart has been able to do. So if you want to, change the background colors, you can change it. Okay, let's undo that actually. But if you want to change some of the paddings right within the sections, and again, the biggest thing I would say is look at each one of these ones, right? Because it's going to talk to you about what they're talking about. So right now, this is the border for each one of the ones. So if we add in any margins, it's going to be just for this section, okay? Versus typography, okay, it's just going to be on the page itself. Forms will have its different one. So it's really, the only thing I would say is that it's can be tedious. There are so many different pieces of where, hey, this is this typography, this is this color. So you just have to keep on playing with it and just keeping your eye on the overall aesthetic of it. So that way you can see, okay, did I change this section? Nope, I didn't get that. This section is this typography here. Okay, so that's the only thing, is it can be a little bit clunky. I would say the best thing to do is, again, always not in a live environment unless you're very confident in terms of what you're doing. But in your staging site, play around with this, see all the different features that it might have, and then go from there. Any questions about the cart? Maybe
I'd like to see the checkout page.
What's that?
I'd like to see the actual checkout page.
So that is a feature that it's going to be coming down the pipeline, the actual checkout. So
I thought I saw something about PayPal.
Yep, we'll get into PayPal.
Okay.
But into terms of the actual checkout page, okay. So this is something too. You can go in here. Now there's one big caveat too. So there's two different ways of putting the cart changes and the checkout. There are the widgets within Elementor, okay? And so you can see that I actually have edited it in here. And so if you want to search for it, you can do cart, okay? You can do checkout. So if you drag that in there, that is one way. One of the older ways is just by, I don't know if any of you have ever done this in the past, but you could even just have a text editor. Again. And then you can go with a short code. I think it's, if I remember this correctly, I haven't done it in a while. But you could put in your short code, and that will be an editor like in the customize feature in the old way of or in another way of customizing it. If your theme allows a WooCommerce editing feature in the theme of it, you would probably be putting in a short code and then using that theme function for editing. Does that make sense to people, the difference between the two? One is actually controlled by Elementor, because the problem is if you use this short code, or if you use a short code widget instead of just a text editor, Elementor will not be able to control the styling for it. So sometimes you might find that, oh, you went to change something on the styling, or you're noticing that your links are not the same color as your universal links. Like, let's say if you set links within your site settings, okay, it might be a little bit different because your theme is overriding it. So that is one thing to make sure. Always, if you're going to be using Elementor for it, search for the widget, drag it in there in order to use the actual editing features. What specifically did you want to see with the checkout?
Could you scroll down a little? I want to see how it allows you to pay.
Sure. Well, so again, it depends on your payment gateway. Okay. So in this case, we're using Stripe as the payment gateway. But let's say, and I think this is actually a great segue for the shopping cart. The PayPal button. Okay. I have this mock-up site that I've done for a client that I would love for them to let's just get it done and over with. So we could just move on. But here, right on this page, it's a standard button. But let's just say for grins and giggles that we want to just imagine that this was already, and instead of going ahead and having this go to a sub page, let's say we wanted to actually have them have some e-commerce capabilities without purchasing WooCommerce, right? Because WooCommerce, even though that you technically can use it for free, if anybody's ever used WooCommerce, it's kind of like a nickel and dime kind of thing, right? You want this feature? Okay, it's $49. Oh, you want that feature? Another $49, or sometimes whatnot. So there's always prices associated with it. But if you have a client that's really, in terms of low end, they don't want to spend a whole lot of money on an e-commerce platform per year, one of the easy things that you can do is search for the PayPal button, okay? And then you can just drag it in there. So instead of and again, you're going to see within here, there's going to be a number of different functions. So you can set the price in here if you haven't already done it. They also have some dynamic tags. If you use dynamic tags like custom fields on your post, you can do that as well. But there's also some different things that you can do within here, right? Let's say it's a nonprofit and you want to just have a donate to them. You can have that within there. You can put SKUs on there to keep track of that. But let's say $5. Quantity 1, no shipping price. Again, just trying to make this super simple so that way you guys can get an idea of it. And let's say we're saying buy earrings. Now, if I don't want that, well, I might actually want that PayPal. So that's a good thing. You can do on that button, you can take away the icon, right? Or not. Back to PayPal. So let's put that PayPal back. Again, you can have it before or after, just like any other regular button. On the style, you can make it your own, right? Instead of this color, it can be the secondary color onto it. And then that way, look, you now have got yourself a functionable website within PayPal.
Respectfully, though, it eliminates a shopping cart where they can buy multiple items. Now you're forcing them to check out one item at a time.
Exactly. But if you're somebody that has maybe only 1 or 2 items, right, and that are items that are maybe not purchased together, and again, that step before they're willing to commit to a full e-commerce suite, this is an alternative for it. Or again, let's say it's that nonprofit and they have maybe a couple different, again, that Eagle Creek that I just showed you guys, right? They have, you might donate to support a raptor, or you might donate to support a critter. Okay. If they only had like 2 or 3 different things, then that could be a great way, instead of them having to pay, hundreds of dollars a year for a WooCommerce platform, they could just literally have it to where, if it's a single product, donate, boom, and then they don't have to worry about, maintaining products and different things like that.
And I got one question.
Sure.
Right. This PayPal button won't be supporting like multiple products. Like suppose a product costs $10. I want to have like multiple products. So if there is a drop down, I can select two, and the pricing will automatically update within the PayPal.
I'm sorry, James, really quickly. I couldn't quite understand. I think it's my connection. What is the crux of your question?
Say the product that you are selling is $10. Now
Okay.
there is a drop down, so you can select 2 products. From the drop down, you can select 2 products. So with the PayPal update the pricing.
Let me get to this tab. You're saying that they can select 2 products?
Yeah, I mean, suppose there is one product that is costing $10. There is a drop down that makes you can select multiple products for the same, right? Like 2 products you can select.
I do not see that in terms of this option.
No, I'm asking like if I create, suppose I want to give the users option to pay via PayPal button. So there is an option like select 1 product or select 2 product. That same product.
Okay. Yeah. So if you wanted to do something like that, then, what you'd have to basically do is you'd have to have, 2 buttons, right? 2 buttons with a specific in this setup. Again, you put in your email address for your PayPal account, and then you'd have, this one would be $5, but this second one, would be, let's say we'd say buy, 2 earring sets, right?
Okay, got it. So you need to have like multiple buttons, PayPal buttons, right?
Yeah. So that was that problem that Mitch was talking about, is
Right,
that
right.
it's going to put you to that checkout, right? And so it's going to be one specific function that it can do. It can't handle multiple products. So that's the limitation of the PayPal. But again, the way that you can use this is if you have a business that only has maybe 1 or 2 versions, right? Then it can be okay where you have a description about it and then buy now, a description about it, buy now. But understanding that more than likely these two things are not going to be ones that they purchase together. So great question. But I mean, again, a workaround for it. If you just want to stick in PayPal, if you don't want to have like that whole e-commerce setup, you could have, again, this ability to like maybe have like 3 different buttons, right? It could get clunky depending upon, how it's set up. If it's set up right, you can make it work, I think, for you if you really wanted it to.
Okay, thanks.
But the recommendation would be, if you do have, 3 or 4 different products, and a lot of times you want to sell those in conjunction, this would not be a good fit for you. Moving towards WooCommerce would be the better fit for you. Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Any other questions?
Dennis Bills is asking, do you see the question?
I'm sorry, I did not.
Dennis Bills.
Dennis Bills. Okay. Do you have to have WooCommerce installed to use the cart and check out widgets? Yes. Yeah. So that specific widget, okay, the update cart and checkout, that's a feature of WooCommerce. So in order to have that, you have to have WooCommerce installed. If you're going to be doing any e-commerce on WordPress, that's like the #1 e-commerce platform anyway, unless you get into the routing to a different e-commerce platform like a Shopify or whatnot. And I've had clients that have done that, right, where I'll have like either a subdomain, a setup, and it's just their Shopify website. But again, then you can have the problem of not having that brand identity carry over, right? Okay, so if you try to create one specific identity, and I'll show you just a great example actually of this client that I have. Let me share this really quickly, and that way you can see like a real world of it. So Tommy's Bloody, this is a website that I created, and they had like a Wix website. They didn't like it. They wanted some variability in here. I'm sorry about the delay on this, but it's normally like a cool little video. So they had these different things, and they wanted to be able to sell products. Okay, well this is literally just a window that is connecting their Shopify to their WooCommerce, or sorry, their a WordPress installation. Okay. So when you go to their shop or to that link, right, this is actually a Shopify platform. Well, they're not people who had tons of money, so we had to go with one of the free templates. Now, if you look at it, right, I tried pulling in some of the same typography within here. So the typography is the same, but it still doesn't look and feel exactly the same as that other one was. Right? There are different features that are not exactly the same. Okay. But again, it's another way to integrate with it, and you can kind of minimize it as much as possible. But at the same time, it's still a Shopify website. You can still have a link back to the main website. Oops. Sorry, I'm going to have to fix that actually. Notice something. That was going to the test website. But yeah, again, so you can see the difference that it's not quite the same environment. So if you want to have a single environment, then you want to go to WooCommerce to have that set way your brand is totally in control on this page at all times. And then it doesn't move down. I don't know if you could see it, but it actually went to shop.tommysbloodies.com for the URL. Does that answer that question? Dennis, let's see. Oh, Renato, thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Great. Glad, Dennis. All right. Stop sharing this. Let's go on to we did the cart and PayPal widgets, custom breakpoints. Okay. So There are some really great tutorials out there. I'm not going to go into how to do the full setup for it. But what I wanted to cover on this one is my thought is if you're going to use custom breakpoints, you better think out your layout before you start building. Okay. And the reason why I say this, and I'll go into here again, we'll review this just that way everybody has this idea of what we're talking about. Oh, I got to share this tab. Okay. So again, we're right now in order to get to custom breakpoints. And the reason for this is not a 100% live feature that's everywhere yet. Okay. So they were going to break this. Originally was just a beta version, and then they were going to bring it, to the actual stable live environment. But they've seen that, I think, this is my thought at least, that people have trouble with this. It's a lot tougher to think about your design elements for this. So
that's not working.
The way that we get custom breakpoints is we go to the Elementor tab, go to settings, go to the experiments again, and then down here, we're going to add custom breakpoints. You need to select active, save changes. I'm going to show you something here that's important to note, okay? When I originally designed this site, okay, actually, is it this one? Can't remember. Again, this is another staging site. I need to get this client off the road and get this out into production. But this is one where we had a function of there is a feature where it's hidden on the desktop and on the tablet, but shown on the mobile. Okay, the fact that we went into, and I'm going to go to edit this now, because we selected this add, hold on a second, let's let it pull up. Because we went into add custom breakpoints, and once I add a custom breakpoint to a place that's already been designed, one of the things that we're going to find here, I think, yeah, this is the tab that I wanted to show. So in order to add a custom breakpoint, how we do that is we're going to go into here. Oh, this is one where I've already had done it before. Normally, you would not see, right? This is you see the 3 tabs right in here that you would normally see within here, okay? If we wanted to add a custom breakpoint, we go into Manage Breakpoints, and then you're going to be able to just add one, okay? So one of the features is a great tutorial out there by a guy named Ferdy, I think he is. I think it was him that has it. And he has one about, creating one for a cell phone horizontally aspected, right? So instead of the normal vertical, what happens to those people that have theirs to the side, okay? Which is a function that you can think about that. There's a lot of designers who get all geeked out about custom breakpoints, and they've been clamoring for this for so long. But the problem, again, so let's look into this, is when you do this, okay, so we've gone ahead, we've clicked our plus button. Again, they have already standard features, right, for what you could maybe expect. Okay, so like a mobile extra might be one of those bigger cell phones that are out there. Again, a tablet extra could be like a larger than normal tablet. You can see this. Again, I just did widescreen because that's an example of where, somebody that has like a 4K screen, right? Maybe you want to create something that's specific for them. You can do that. Again, what's going to happen is you're going to see the ability to edit this, right? That wide is going to be that 2400 and above. Okay, that's going to be when that breakpoint happens. When that screen gets bigger than 2400, then you're into this action. Okay, but now look what happens whenever we are in this one. If we have designed our website and we're like, oh, let's add a custom breakpoint, I'm going to, fix this. Okay, there are certain things where, again, this element, let me go into the editing, we might have forgotten to hide some of these elements, or there are elements that we will now need to hide moving forward. So let's go into this edit header so that way you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so if we go into the background, oh, not positioning, into the responsive, I don't know if you've ever seen this tab beforehand, but it can show you where you want to hide this. So on a tablet, right, it's going to now have, I'll show you right here. See, a drop down like this. Same thing on a mobile phone. It's going to have a drop down. But because we added this custom breakpoint, now this is something that we have to remember to do, that we need to also then also hide it on a widescreen. So that way when we're in our preview mode, it's going to aspect correctly onto there, which for this example seems pretty easy. However, if you start adding multiple custom breakpoints, it could quickly get out of hand, okay? And especially like your padding, especially with how things look on a screen. So my suggestion for you, if you're going to use custom breakpoints, plan in advance. Do not build a site before you start thinking about your custom breakpoints, okay? Think about your custom breakpoints first, then have that plan for action. Because if you already have a lot of different moving parts in it, you have to think about every single page that you've built and how that extra thing could work. Okay, that extra breakpoint could work, because that could really interfere with what you're doing. And that's all I'm going to really say about custom breakpoints. That's why still I don't actually use custom breakpoints. What I tend to do as a design element in my design is I will use percentages, okay, for your margin, your padding, okay. Hopefully we've discussed this in rounds past, but instead of like using a fixed pixel, which Elementor will default for, and actually a lot of Elementor kits that are out there will actually be designed in pixels. Okay, if one of the things you've ever noticed, like, hey, it looks great on this screen size, but now I got this other screen size and all this looks really wonky. Well, it's because a lot of times they haven't designed with the idea of percentages. Okay, does everybody understand what I mean by that? I'm going to really mean Panagiatis, I'm going to look at what your question is, because it is about custom breakpoints. Is it possible to make changes to each breakpoint without applying to all of them? Recently, yeah. So again, in my experience, that's the trouble that you run into with adding these custom breakpoints after your site is already designed, is that there will be those changes, right? If you break the way that the custom breakpoints are naturally set up, right, with 3 even breakpoints in Elementor, now you've created this can of worms. Again, I've had to scrap like changes that I've done because of that simple reason. Is that so again, I don't use it. I use margins for mine. The only way that I would possibly use it was if I was designing for like a 4K environment. Let's say, I was designing for maybe a B2B segment. So in B2B segments, that can definitely be an instance where, we would want to be paying attention to that. I'm going to have to try to, hopefully, can everybody hear me? It just said my internet connection might be unstable.
I can hear you, Mitch.
Great. Okay. Hopefully that won't break it out. Let me share my screen. So again, that's my caveat about custom breakpoints. It's an awesome feature. Again, it's one that I would do before you start actually setting anything up. Custom code. Again, to Mitch's point about getting rid of things, okay, custom code has been a lifesaver, okay? And the way that I use custom code is I use custom code for setting up Google Analytics. Okay. So I'm going to show you really quickly. Let's say I've got, man, I wish I could just toggle tabs. It's one downside about this. Hold on. Let me show you from here. Let's say we're in Google Tag Manager. Okay. And we're in the admin and we want to install our Google Tag Manager. We've got our code right here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to that screen that we just saw a second ago where we have custom code. Okay, this is in Elementor and it's already a tab, okay, that's underneath here. So you'll see the submissions, fonts, icons, code. You're going to add your custom code right within here. Okay, you're going to put a title to it. So maybe Google Tag Manager header. You're going to get a couple different options, the head, the body, and the body end. Okay, one is the start and one is the end. Okay, so we want to pick our head. This is going to be our Google Tag Manager. The beauty about this, okay, so in years past, a lot of people would use your headers and footers in plugin. It's a super popular plugin, headers and footers, right? There's tons of websites that have used that. Okay, and then just to complete this out, you want to, especially something like a Google Tag Manager or like a Facebook Pixel, right? You're going to put the entire site. Okay. The only other thing that you need to know is priority. It goes 1 through 10. It's not like normal, like code priorities. So this one is just like, hey, if you have 10 different pieces of code on the website, which one needs to get served first? So, you know, Tag Manager, you probably want to serve it up near the front of it. So you would want to put a priority 1. Okay, that's an example of one version of it. And then let's say, again, we went back to that Google Tag Manager. The other one part of to properly install Google Tag Manager, you have to install the code in the head. That's always been easy with that headers and footers plugin. Okay, but the second part is actually what's called the no script tag. Okay, and the no script tag, you always used to have to put into the footers. Okay, for that plugin. That's not the appropriate way to set it up. And if you've ever used anything like a tag, like Google has a great Chrome extension called Google Tag Legacy or Tag Assistant Legacy, and it'll let you know whether or not a website has installed their code properly. And it'll tell you, like, yeah, you've installed it properly. No, you haven't. Again, within this one, because it's the body start, priority of this tag, it's a different setting. You can put it as 1 or you could set it as 2. Again, it doesn't really matter that much. Hit publish, again, the entire site. And then boom, you don't need, so personally, one of the things that I had always used Astra Pro was for the ability to appropriately install Google Tag Manager. I now literally got rid of Astra Pro completely because I didn't need to worry about that custom code. Again, my websites usually tend to be somewhat more simple in terms of layout, in terms of like what's needed on the back end. So I was able to cut that theme altogether. Going from the Astra Pro theme to Hello by Elementor, right, which is a free theme, literally like saved me 20 or 30 points on average per website, right, in terms of Google page speed analysis. So it's super important. I would say if you can get rid of, bulky themes, do it. Just go to the Hello theme. But anyway, any thoughts, questions about it?
Can I share a couple of screenshots with you?
Sure. Yeah, you could. I think you can post it on here.
Yeah,
or actually, you can.
There's a share screen.
Yeah, just click the share screen.
Okay, so screen. I have two 40-inch monitors, so I'm trying to find where I'm at. Okay.
Sure. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's not what I want to show. First of all, you were talking about speed, And I was looking for something, but I actually have 38 active plugins and a clunky theme called Woovina, which is made specifically for WooCommerce. The problem is in Elementor might have fixed this, but you couldn't mix Elementor and WooCommerce because every time you went to a product, the breadcrumbs would change and not allow you to get back to Elementor. Follow? I know it's kind of confusing. So this header, it comes from Woovina. The footer is Elementor. And so when I go to all categories, this is a shop page, as opposed to this is an Elementor page. With different Elementor components. And this is one of the galleries that Renato, who's gone, where is it? I got to bring it up to the top. There's actually 6 or 7 galleries available. And this is a WooCommerce gallery with, I don't know, I have 36 or so categories. And you were just talking about speed. This site is just under 4,000 pages with 40 plugins, but I'm able to achieve that kind of speed. It took me, like I said, 5.5 years. I've gone through 400 plugins have been on this site that I've tested for, and I've spent about 200 hours getting all the plugins to play nice. So, and to your point where you were adding code to the tag manager, you can also do that with Monster Insights, which will hook up through, I don't know, All-in-One SEO or one of the other plugins. And it has a little overhead, but I'm not a coder, so I try to avoid code. If you look at my home page, under the gallery, there's this gap. And this is a UAE plugin, and I reached out to them and they sent me some CSS that I can add, and it blew up the page. So I have to remount my developer site and then test it from there. But I'm all about plugins because I don't like code. And like you were just talking about, like the hooks, if you start changing things, you got to go back and redo or relook at all the hooks, whereas everything I do here is plug and play, so you don't have to think about the you know, the I guess the structure, the digital structure of the site. And that's the last thing I did want to show you. This is, I've got to get my developer site up because I don't like the fonts here. But I've been on WooCommerce for going on 6 years, but I've been running WindyCityParrot.com since 2003 and been building sites since then. And what I've learned when I saw your shot, your screenshot with the Stripe checkout, people don't like to click a button to get to checkout. I like to put, here's your credit card, here's PayPal, and I'm going to be adding, you know, Venmo and Google and all the others. But right now, I moved this site and pushed it live January 5th, moved it to another host because I didn't like that host, moved it back to the host. So I got to get the site to settle down. And I finally achieved my speed. But I've just learned over 20 years, just having that button can kill your conversions 5, 10, 20%. And having everything in front so that there's no confusion like that. I just did a rollback because I crashed the site early this morning. Had nothing to do with alcohol. And I got it back, and I got to get rid of that button, which is a WooCommerce, that auto check mark that you just saw go away. But that's all I got. I just wanted to share that with you. And if anybody needs help on speed, I'm a self-proclaimed expert. I really don't know what the heck I'm doing, but I got here. And it's like 450 milliseconds on desktop. I'm even surprised. But that took me hundreds of hours to achieve, but now I know how to get there. And you look at all the experts, and they say, put your CSS and your JavaScript down in the footer. I don't do that. This is all done through plugins and mixing and matching and testing until you get the right combination for the site. And the site does 6 figures in income. So, I'm willing to spend a little money. You should check out anybody who's building WooCommerce. I want to play with the new e-commerce features, but this Woovina theme, these Vietnamese boys figured out the combination of, they use Elementor free and their theme Woovina, and it's $140 a year, but they give you about 150 e-commerce themes. There's everything is 100% e-commerce, and the response rate is within 12 to 24 hours if you have a problem. Similar to the themes that e-commerce themes and templates that Elementor is offering, I'm going to look at those, but I've been using Woovina, and for $139 a year, I can put up a site in 2, 3, 4 hours, an e-commerce site, which is unheard of. And all I'm doing is changing elements. You can pay them $100 and they'll take your database and wrap their theme around it.
Nice. Hey, just a really quick thing. I took a look at that website. You might want to go into an incognito browser, because the look that you have on your homepage is not what I'm seeing on mine. The last thing I will say about GT Metrics, it's great for desktop. It doesn't actually show. Yeah, it doesn't look like that on mine.
Yeah, you could. I had like 2 questions, Mitchell.
Yes.
One, like, I'm really pleased that you have come up with such kind of great starts with the e-commerce website. One is, I would love to know, like, do you use any kind of paid plugins within this site? A, and the B is, what kind of hosting are you using?
I got about $2,000 into this. My last site I had built, I spent 20-something thousand, and I hated it. It was a Zencart WordPress combo, and that's how I learned WordPress. So yeah, I've got a couple of grand worth of plugins. I've probably thrown out $1,000 worth that haven't worked, but you don't know until you try, and try to get to test them within their money back guarantee time frame, which I try to do a lot. But I can, if you shoot me an email, I don't know how to communicate in there, I can show you the plugins that I've tested. I keep a list.
You can go ahead and you can just chat with him, like send him a direct message, right? You just go to the DM section and you can type right into that chat thing.
Gotcha.
I'm going to go ahead and if you could stop your sharing, so that way I can get back on track with the rest of the meeting. But I mean, I appreciate you sharing that. That's good. Good stuff. Screen share. No. So yeah, again, custom code. You can kind of break free from the themes and whatnot. Last thing I'll show today will be text path. Big fan of having text path within here. We're actually going to go back to one of the websites that I showed you earlier, and it's again really pretty simple. So text path allows you to do fun little things. Of course. Hold on. Let's. Sure. Why is that not showing? There we go. Okay. So this thing is a text path. Okay. So it allows you to put all different kinds of fun little aspects to your website, right? And that's what I would say text path does. One thing to keep in mind, though, about this, and this is my whole point, you can see some really great tutorials about how to use text path and what to use it with. But where it falls flat is this idea of, if you care about SEO and marking things, right? Here's where your title tags can be. Okay, within here, right? This HTML tag. If you're not using that, you should be using it. Okay. For this one, again, your title tag will be normally like a paragraph. Okay, it'll already be within there. But if you're using a edit heading and putting that into there, you can add all these different features. What is your H1? H2, H3, 4. You should be using those, okay, whenever you build them. But the thing to remember is, though, and see this one, again, this is a mock-up. I haven't quite finished that out, so that should be at H3. Again, this one should be, either an H3 or an H4. So I'll just say it's an H4. It'll be fine. So these are all features that, again, for SEO purposes, that's a really great thing to keep in mind whenever you're working on that. However, if you use text path, right, for the top of your window, and I've done that actually I'll show you another one. Hang tight. I'll go back to Eagle Creek. So with Eagle Creek, they're having their 50th anniversary come up. And I'll show you. Eagle Creek is just a local park in Indianapolis. But they have a 50th anniversary come out. And so, again, playing with this idea of 50 years and whatnot. This page is not quite finished yet. But I used text path on this. Originally, this was my H1 tag. But because, again, that text path doesn't allow that, I bumped this one down as my H1 tag and then H2 and doing the appropriate labeling from there. But it's something that, again, if you're building pages, if you're going to use this or focus on SEO when you build pages, it's just something to be aware of. You can do a lot of great things within there. It's not only just the curve, but there's a wavy line. You can have a line underneath it that like highlights it, which is always kind of fun too. So there's a lot of great features. Again, just look at I think even in that article that we showed has some really great tutorials on how to use text path. So I would say look it up online. There's a lot of great features out there, but again, that would be my big focus is just make sure that you plan for that aspect of it's not going to be tagged as an H1 or H2 or H3 within there. So you'll have to make sure that you account for that whenever you're building your website. That's what I have for today. Again, and then we kind of sidetracked on some other things, but hopefully overall that you guys had a really great time and enjoyed it.
One last comment, Matt. I'm in Lowell, Indiana, so we're not far. FYI, and last year, John Mueller from Google, head webmaster, came out and said they don't care about H tags anymore. They don't care about H1s, H2s. If they're there or if they're not going to affect the SEO. And I push out 20,000 words a week of fresh content. I don't have time to add H1 tags. I just try to do the meta descriptions and titles, but FYI.
Okay. I mean, I still think that they're important, but we can agree to disagree on that point. Again, I'm not a really big fan of SEO period anyway, because I always tell people, give me $1,000 and I can do so much more with outbound marketing like Google ads, Facebook ads than what you could ever do with SEO.
We'll have to chat sometime.
Okay. Any other questions from anybody? All right. There was that one gentleman that did have the question. Who was it? Oh, Renato, but he had to leave. Is Renato still here or is he gone?
He's gone.
He's gone. Okay. All righty. Well, hopefully, again, I mean, my best thought would be just hang tight. I'm sure if there's something seriously wrong with the post, then Elementor, they'll have so many complaints blowing up their inboxes that they won't have anything to do but change it. So,
do we have your contact info?
You can always reach me here. I'll put it right here in the chat. If you ever want to reach me, it's just Thompson at Trekking Pixel Media. So yeah, feel free to grab that and shoot me a message if you want to chat. That'll be fine too.
I'm not seeing the message.
So next month we will do this again. So tell your friends, come back again in a month. I'll post it once I have the date finalized. I've got to figure that out along with the topic of it. But definitely trying to get committed to doing this on a consistent basis. Again, if you know anybody that's in Indy that loves Elementor, shoot them my way because, again, I would love to find somebody. Yeah, truth be told, I lived in Indianapolis for 18 years. I just moved in the heart of the pandemic. I moved to South Carolina. So I'm always in warmer, sunnier weather now. Don't miss it at all. So actually, Mitch, we're not close by each other.
Well, you're lucky because it's 2 degrees right now in Lowell.
Yeah, exactly. It's I mean, it's a cold day for us at about like 45. So
screw you. I'll leave you with this last thought. What do you call a dog that tells time? A watchdog.
All right.
Nice.
Talk to y'all later.
All right. Take care, guys. We'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
Feel free to hit me up. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.